In today's video, guys, we're going to be talking about the quotient rule and how to simplify exponents using it. So, very first thing we need to understand is that when we're talking about the quotient rule, that means we're going to see a fraction like the one on our screen. And we're going to expand this out so that you guys could understand what's going on before we simplify it. So, we have x to the fifth divided by x to the third power. And basically, what's happening right here, after we expand it out, we could go back and actually start canceling out some of our x's, right? Because x divided by x is just 1. So we could start canceling those x's out. And if we pay close attention, we're left with x times x on top, which is the same thing as x squared, right? And the funny thing is with the quotient rule, it tells us that we can simplify exponents by subtracting. So when I take this base, right, I have x to the fifth and I subtract 3 from 5, I'm going to get that same x to the second power. But let's say we have a problem, guys, where we have coefficients now. We have numbers in front of the variables. So we have a problem like this, right? Let's find some space here. Let's switch to red. So we have 8x to the fifth power, y to the fourth, and we're going to divide that by 4x squared, y to the second power. So our first rule, guys, tells us to divide the coefficients. So when I look at 8 and 4, we could simplify that to 2. So let's just go to the side. Let's put our equal sign right here, and let's put 2. Now I go back, right? And now we're going to have to start using that quotient rule to subtract our exponents. So I have x to the fifth power and x squared, right? So we set that up and we're going to get x to the third power. And then we know we have to go back, do the same thing for y, which will give us y squared. So this is one of the bigger differences when we're using the quotient rule and there's coefficients included. Just make sure that you guys divide and simplify those first before we go over to the exponents. And another quick tip I want to give you guys, right? Very important rule. So let's say we had this problem k to the sixth power divided by k to the sixth. So we all know that once we use this rule and we subtract, we're going to get k to the 0 power. And what we need to know is anything to the 0 power is always 1. So please make sure you guys remember that. Anything to the 0 power, whether it's a to the 0 power, 100 to the 0 power, it will always be 1 as an answer. All right, let's keep on going. So the next problem that we're looking at now, this is how they try to fool us when it comes to the quotient rule and exponents. So we're going to go down to the bottom left of our screen and we have 4x to the seventh power all over 6x. We're going to close the parentheses, and then on the outside, we have an exponent of 2. So how does that change our problem? Exactly. So if you remember from our previous videos, when we talked about the power rule, when there's an exponent on the outside of the parentheses, that means we're going to multiply the exponents. And if we don't see an exponent like we do with 6x, we should always assume and know that it is 1, right? So let's go ahead now and let's see if we could simplify this. So when I square 4, we're going to get 16x, and then we multiply our exponents to get x to the 14th power. And then now we want to go back and do this very same thing with the denominator, right? The bottom half of that fraction. So after I square 6, I'll get 36, and I multiply my exponents, right? 2 times 1 is going to give us 36x to the second power. So now we're in a regular fraction like we're used to, right? Exactly. So what we're going to want to do, guys, we are going to want to start off by dividing the coefficients. So when I look at both of these, what is what number could we reduce both the top and bottom by? And let's start off small. So let's start off with 2, right? So we start off with not even no. Let's start off with 4. I'm sorry. If we start off with 4, we're going to get sorry. We're going to get 4 over 9, right? And let's just rewrite our exponents just so we're on the same page. So right here, there's nothing else we could do to simplify 4 over 9. But what we can do is simplify our exponents. So after we subtract, right, let's write it down here. We have x to the 14th minus 2, which will give us x to the 12th. Our final answer would be 4 over 9, and then we'd have x to the 12th power in the top of our numerator. So guys, when we're working with the quotient rule, don't forget these 2 very helpful tips. Please make sure you guys divide the coefficients, reduce your fraction with those numbers out in front. And then for the second very helpful tip, make sure that you guys subtract your exponents, subtract the bottom exponent from the top, and then you guys will have your correct answer. Thank you guys for joining us today. This is Algebra 1 with Mr. Peters.